Hi, I'm Michi, and welcome to Daily Reflections. The other day, I was walking down the street, I was having a good time, and I got the impression that people were looking at me. And my thinking was like, oh boy, I gotta be like famous or handsome, good looking today. Until I realized when arriving at home I just had some weird green stains, probably paint on my jacket, which was very hard to remove. But I realized something, and that was probably also the reason why people were actually looking at me. So, what I realized once I thought about it, I reflected on it, was that the most likely explanation for something is the simplest explanation. And that's very much, or we could compare that to Occam's razor, where the theory is that the simplest solution is probably the best solution. And in that very same sense, the simplest explanation for what happens around us, what happens towards us, is probably the best explanation or the most accurate explanation when it comes to what's really true. And we're not talking about cognitive ease here because that's the original issue, the original problem. Because what's easy for me to come up with a story is what I like to be true about the world, about myself, what the way I'd like to see myself and what's happening around me. But that's not necessarily what really explains it. That's not necessarily how other people view it. And truth lies somewhere between me and all the other people. And as there are so many other people than myself, their version of how they see it is probably more true than what I see. And there's a solution to that. Um, the solution is to not overcomplicate things, not to adhere to the things I'd like to be true, but to put myself in the other person's point of view and see it from their perspective. And with that one story, with that example, I mean, why should people out of a sudden see me as popular, or why should I look better today than on other days, but realistically speaking, why should it be that dramatic? Especially if I didn't really change something or have a reason to believe that. Because there might be situations where that's actually true, but in that situation it was completely random. So seeing it from the other person's perspective, I could ask myself, why is it actually that they're looking at me like that? And not in terms of what I'd like to be true, because it's, yeah, what I'd like to think about myself. So, seeing the simplest explanation for what's happening, what people are doing, what how they see me, what they're doing towards me, helps me to see the world as it truly is and not how I would like it to be. And that's tremendously important because only once I get that, only once I get to that point, from that point on, I can improve upon it. Because as long as I see the world as I'd like it to be, I I won't see that gap, and I won't be able to improve upon it because I already think it's better than it actually is. So the importance here is to see the world as it truly is, accept that, and then prove it. And one way to do this is to see simple explanations, not stories that come easily to mind, but stories or reasons that are simple from the other person's perspective. So, given that, and given the goal of seeing the world as it is, what do you do to achieve that? Looking forward to your answers. It was my pleasure, and take care.